The numbers don't look super great last week in Washington, D.C., but are they really as bad as they may appear? We're going to dive into it, but if you're watching this, my name is Mark. I'm a team leader and a real estate agent here in D.C. with Search Real Estate Group. Throwing you a curveball this week, doing it on Thursday, December 1st, 2022. This is your weekly Washington real estate update. So I actually want to start with a stat that we haven't talked about yet in these videos. So I'm going to scroll in the opposite direction here. And we're going to look at the percent of active listings with a price drop. Let me get this window down. So what this is telling you are the percentage of houses this week that actually reduced in price. So in DC, we're at 38.5%. So 38% of the houses have lowered their price over the last week. Compared to the other markets we get sort of lumped in with, so Maryland and Virginia, we're kind of right on par with Virginia, but we're ahead of Maryland here. This used to be when we saw these price reductions, sellers were still actively pricing too high, being a little stubborn, to be honest, thinking they were going to get numbers that they saw their friends and their family getting in 2021 when we saw that rapid increase in home sales and prices. That's not so much the issue now. Most people are educated on this and they know that they're not really going to get the numbers they were going to get a couple years ago, last year even. So this is really just the market trying to figure out where it is actually going to be. So we do see price reductions in a normal, in a healthy market. So I'm okay with this. We don't want to get out of control because that still means that there's an imbalance here. But we're going to compare this to the amount of buyers who are coming back into the market, and we should see those numbers correlate. The reduction in price drops should correlate steadily with the increase in active showing appointments. We'll take a look to see if that actually happens. When we scroll down here, we're going to see a lot of negative numbers here. And again, that's okay. The world could either be falling apart or we could have just had a holiday weekend. I'm going to go with option B because we've kind of set ourselves up for going into the new year, how we're going to see a lot of these numbers trail off because that's what history tells us is going to happen. Weekly new closed listings. Let's see here. We're following this weekend down. You're going to see this track all the way through in these next couple of charts, but we're down into Thanksgiving. Next Wednesday when we talk, we should hopefully see this spike back up that we see here in the other years. 2021 is this blue line. You can see this big rise. 2020 is that green line there. And then 2019, our COVID year, is kind of where we were freaking out, right? So we see these big increases. We should see that next week when we're looking back at this current week, if that makes sense. New purchase contracts. How many people are under contract this week who weren't under contract last week? A little down dip here, but again, historically, that's what we see because everybody's talking about Thanksgiving. Next week, we're in a little bit of a lull as we get into the week before Christmas. So we should hopefully see an uptick in some of these stats next week when we're looking back. Last thing we're going to check out, weekly new listings. How many houses came on the market this week? None, right? Look at this big decrease. We're under 100 in the entire district. So the reason why, again, that's happening is because you're all worried about Thanksgiving and cooking dinner and having family over. No one's going to list their house because no one's going to come see their house. It's a terrible idea to put your house on the market right around a holiday weekend because no one's paying attention. We talked about it. So again, when you're looking at these numbers and you're hearing the media reports and everybody's talking about where is the real estate market, just please go back and look at the history of things and see, are we where we're supposed to be? I think we are. We're still trying to figure out what's happening. We're still trying to figure out where the market is going to be into 2023. There are a lot of macroeconomic factors that can change things, but going back and looking at the history, we're pretty close to where we should be. So don't freak out too much. Recover from all the turkey that I'm sure you had last week. And we'll talk next week, and we should hopefully see an uptick in a lot of these numbers just to know that we're following the trend lines that are appropriate. So again, my name is Mark. I'm an agent here in DC. If you have any questions, you can always reach out. But today's Thursday, December 1st. It's your weekly Washington update. I will see you next Wednesday.